Okay, we are live. I'm reading from the Gemara. I'm reading from the Babli and Shabbat on Daf Lamed Aleph. Maisa benachri echad shaba lifnei Shammai. There was a non-Jew who came before Shammai. Amar le Gaireni. He said to him, he requested from him, convert me. Al menas shetlamdeni kol Torah kula kshani omed al regel achas. I want you to convert me on the condition that you teach me the entire Torah while I'm standing on one foot. Dochvo va'amas habinyan shebiyado. And Shammai pushed him away with the measuring staff which was in his hand. Balifnei Hillel. Then he went before Hillel, Gairei, and he converted him based on the same request. He said, I want you to teach me the whole Torah uh, while I'm standing on one foot. Amar lo, and Hillel said to him, Allah sani, what you despise, lechavrach lo ta'aved, do not do to your friend. Zuhi kol haTorah kula. This is the entire Torah, meaning you wanted to learn the whole Torah, this is the whole Torah. V'idach perusha, and the rest is commentary. Zil gemor, go and study. The context of this story and other similar stories that are brought over here in the Gemara, the context of this story is that there's a warning from the sages that a person should conduct himself with the ease and acceptingness of Hillel, and not have the kapdanut, not have the strict, the strictness, which is very prone to rejection and unattainable standards that Shammai expressed. So a person, you read this story, and at the surface it seems pretty straightforward that this person was making an unreasonable request. Teach me the whole Torah very quickly. Like that's so it's so I don't have time for you, and he goes away, and then he goes to Hillel, the more accepting one, and he figures out a way of taking him in and giving him a nice, meaningful lesson about how the root of the Torah is based on consideration for others, and that's the end of the story. And it highlights this idea that Hillel was more amenable and he was more open, and he was more accepting, and Shammai went a little bit too far with his strictness. However, in addition to that, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but sorry,
you're actually converted.
It says Gairei. That's what it says. It says in the Gemara. Right, he went to the Mishrad Pnim, he re-registered his name, he got everything, right? He got everything, got all the paperwork. I believe that there is a profound lesson with the symbolism in this story, as the Rambam says in his introduction to Morah Nevuchim. He says that all all symbolic stories, person needs to have an ear to be conscious of which symbols are important to the progression of the story, and which symbols are just there, right? Like very often we want to superimpose interpretation on things that don't necessarily have all the meaning. There was someone actually who was a member of this community a number of years ago, very big Talmud Chacham and an academic. He coined the term essentialism. That a person approaches things that they interact with the world, or books that they read, right? Especially in the context of Torah study, they say, "Oh, this thing has to have this particular type of meaning because, or else, why would it be there?" Says Rambam, no, sometimes things are just there because they're details in the broader story. However, the opposite is also true. A person has to have a sensitive ear in order to be able to pick up the important details, and there are very, very important details. That's one of the important ones. That's one of the important ones. It's like the Rambam says over there, quite quoting from the pasuk in Mishlei, right? Like golden apples in a silver dish, kain davar al ofanav, right? Like a proper word is delivered. It has the qualities of a golden apple in a silver dish. The silver dish being the external layer, and the golden apple inside, which is the deeper meaning. So the simple meaning, I think, is pretty straightforward. The Gemara says, don't be too strict like Shammai, and be more accepting. Like, oh, okay, fine, this is a good story where Shammai was a little bit too strict, clearly, and then Hillel found a way to accommodate him. But there's I believe, a profound layer of symbolism going on here, which we will get to. B'ezras Hashem. The two ta'amim that we're going to do this evening, we kind of have to do both because they're just two. they're expressing the theme, a very, very, very similar theme. I would say a similar theme. They're expressing the two components of a very profound theme. The two ta'amim are is the two tamim are tlisha ktana, v'tlisha gedola. And as we will see, tlisha, the simple interpretation of what that word is, and Rav Kook goes in this direction, tlisha means to tear off. The simple understanding, like litlosh seyar, right? Like to tear out a hair, or litlosh pri, like to pick a tree from a pick a fruit from a tree. Litlosh, right? Like to pick off. But in this context, it's not picking off necessarily, but rather extracting. It's extracting. So we have the little extracting, and we have the big extracting.
What's the difference?
They're two different tamim. They look very similar. You could just flip to the other page. Tlisha Tana and Tlisha Gdola, both of them are a circle with a little line protruding from the bottom. The Tlisha Tana is a little line protruding to the left side, and the Tlisha Gdola is a little line protruding to the right side. To the left, excuse me, it's the other way around. Tlisha Tana is protruding to the right side, and Tlisha Gdola is the little line protruding to the
What's the difference between picking and extracting?
There is no difference. I'm saying that at the baseline, that's what I'm saying. There is no difference. I'm saying it depends on what context you use. If you wouldn't say I'm extracting an apple from a tree, you'd say I'm picking an apple. Just the more appropriate word, right? But as we'll see in this context, which is more theoretical and more spiritual, I think extracting just sounds better. Mm-hmm. So let's jump in. So the Tlisha Ktana. Hitztairut Hamaleya. Just one more word of introduction. The dynamic, the paradox that we're going to be introduced to with the Tlisha Ktana and Tlisha Gdola is the paradox of the prat experiencing the Ein Sof, the particularized, individuated being experiencing infinitude. That is the fundamental paradox that's going to be addressed with these two tamim, and it's going to refer to the two sides of that statement. If a person says the statement, for example, I experience the infinite. I experience the infinite. So there are two statements there. There's the I, and then there's the infinite. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we're reading. Kind of got to hold on all the way through, because it's two sides of the same coin. So we got to hold on. So Tlisha Ktana, Hayitztairut Hamleya, the full, the painting of the full picture, Hod v'godel mechazon ein sof, which is the splendor of the infinite, the or of the eternal life, it is crowned with this splendor. Kol kerev uchlayot shir chadash v'hagut rinanim. So in the context of the cantillations that we're talking about, the Ein Sof is experienced in this welling up desire to sing. Kol kerev uchlayot. People will recognize this from the pasuk that we quote in Nishmas Kol Chai. Kol kerev uchlayot yizamaru lishmecha. Excuse me. That itself is not a pasuk, right? The pasuk that's quoted is Kol atzmotai tomar namicha mocha, right? V'chol kravai at Shem Kadsho. All of my bones will sing out to you. V'chol kravai, right? It could be translated as kravai, like my relatives, like all of my circle, my surroundings, right? But right, exactly. Kerev here it's being interpreted as kerev, kravai, my innards. Yeah. So it fills up the person with the yearning to sing. He mevia behechsef ora et hardasha, revealing its light. It brings about the feeling shalit galmut orim, that the lights are beginning to take shape. Shel hagbalat naim zmira kedei lachnis b'mishtar seder v'ketzev, in order to bring the lights into the regimen of the seder of order and ketzev and pace, like the set pace, like frequency. Hamatim l'tchunat hashira, that is able to be adapted to the pace of the song. In other words, in order to be able to sing properly, you need to be able to integrate into the exacting ordered flow of a song. You can't just yell out in an unorderly fashion. So what he's saying is that this is the experience of a tension of sorts between the infinite welling up, yearning to sing, but at the same time needing to bring it in to a finite expression, which is going to be matim, which is going to be able to be integrated into the song that's being sung. The individual particulated feelings and their pleasantness, the infinite is embedded within them, because they draw from their source from the source of all gentility and pleasantness, asher lo yutuar ba'omer, that cannot be expressed with any particular utterance, with any thought or with any logic and anything that can be measured. In order to integrate, in order to bring down and experience this vision of oneg, of the light, within to the frequency, within the pace of the song, so that's another Rav Kook coinage over here, mekutzba, in order to bring it into the song, which has a pace to it. Every song has a pace, every song has a tempo. And so in order to bring it into that tempo, so it requires an extraction, a small extraction from the infinite light in order to bring it into the tempo of the song. Chalakim, bit by bit. Nitukei orot, these little lights that have been broken off, extracted. Haktzavot tzlilim, the pace, the tempo of the rhythm of the notes rather. Nitzutzei orot, zarzifim elyonim, the flickers of light from on high. Shemehem olamim rabim yitchonanu, v'hanefesh hachozeh chedvat hashichlul haolami. The soul can then experience the development of the infinite. Mehamon haorot hamenutakim, from the many slivers of light that have been broken off. V'shivrei hachayim haolchim ubozkim, and those little fractured elements of life are able to grow and spread out their light, so to speak. Like bazak is like the term to describe lightning, like a lightning bolt comes out and flashes with light. Tamale gaon metzalav rina, full of song and full of joy. Umaor hamale ayimani hamale oz v'ra'avaya telech haomiyah hashirit el hasmol. And this is why Rav Kook is commenting on why the infinite, right? It's not the protrusion, it's the circle part. The circle is going off to the left. Just to cut to the punchline, so the poetic lines that we're about to read might make a little bit more sense. You see how visually this is literally describing the infiniteness, like this endless Ein Sof, and a little fragment that's coming off of it. It's literally it's describing this pictorially. It's the circle, which is describing the infinitude, and there's a little line that's coming off of it, which is the fragment that's coming off of the infinite. Yeah. So the infinite part, so to speak, the circle is on the left side, and the fragment is on the right side. Hamitzamtzem of the kotsev, it becomes more and more constricted. B'kmitza gevurato. We've spoken about this in the past, how also in the letters themselves, there's a distinction between the right side and the left side. The right side is always symbolizing going more towards source, going more towards the beetle becoming nullified in source, and going towards the left is always symbolizing becoming more and more distant from source, becoming more and more individuated, developing a stronger sense of self. Hamatzamtzem b'kotzev, so the left becomes more and more constricted. B'kmitzat gvurato ha'utzeret et shifat ha'chayim uleshadam, that seems to stop the flow of life from its source. V'kav shelo ra mitnotzetzet holech b'yashar, and a small line of light begins to peer out from the infinite. Memale shifat ha'ora, which fills the outpouring of life. Meleti kol shechakim v'chol marchadei tevel, and can fill all of the worlds. Laman ha'atir et hod hazimra b'hamon yitzirot pratiot ashirot hakamut, in order to fill the song with all of the individual pieces that make it rich. Right, we've spoken about this a few times. That the song is not any one of the individual notes. It's the experience of the notes in unison. Right, it's the space between the notes, so to speak. Yeah. Through the multitude of these little slivers of light, hakabirim the glilat galgal. I'm not sure what he means, but they're over there by the glilat galgal, like the turning of a wheel. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Ulachnis et tchunat hashira hamitala me'al kol gvulim b'tchuna nafshit mekutzava melo ba'a bihigalut ha'ora. In order to elevate the finite experience which is inside the soul to its infinite source. Laharbot otzma v'yifya, in order to increase its strength. Lahadir oneg v'ruach chayim alizim, to give glory to the joy and the delight of this spirit. V'mekorei hashira v'hazimra chaya, in its source of song and life-giving force. So just to recap for a moment, this is highly poetic language, but just to quickly recap, what he's saying is that there is the experience of the infinite within the context of song, is that there's an infinite welling up within the experience of the person that seems not to be able to be expressed with any particular note, with any particular utterance. The Tlisha Ktana, the Meser, the Musar, the Chachma, the wisdom that's being communicated in the Tlisha Ktana, is that in order to experience the infinite, the paradox of being able to experience the infinite is to be tolesh, to extract just a little bit of the light, to speak it out, to experience or to act it out, right? In this context, to sing the little bit of light, so to speak. And through that, there is now access to the infinite. That's the Tlisha Ktana. Experiencing the infinite through this is one side of experiencing the infinite through the constricted, finite, particular thing. Zoti tchunat ha-Tlisha Ktana ponel el hasmol min hayamin. This is the idea of the Tlisha Ktana that turns to the left because it's part of the constriction. I want to experience the infinite. How do I experience the infinite? By constricting. Right? That's the paradox. You experience the infinite by constricting. Hamimale gvura v'hod et hayesod hapoel b'yitzira zimratit. La'adir gvanav upratei harkavato. All of the gavan is like the different hues, like the different different facets. He's using it like in the context of colors, like the spectrum of colors. Upratei harkavato la'agdil torat ha'edna ha'kedusha, and to give and to make great the gentility of its holiness. Shivuyat miromim b'chalil pe'era, with its full splendor and beauty. Bahamit hatlisha ktana b'semel Torah, which is expressed in the singing of the Tlisha Ktana, in the actual note, and in how it's semel, right? It's symbol, meaning like the actual symbol of the Tlisha Ktana is pictorially expressing this. Now let's just jump right into the Tlisha Gdola, because it's just the other side of this coin. If the Tlisha Ktana was talking about if a person's yearning to express the infinite, and the paradoxical way of doing that is by breaking off a small sliver and just honing in on that small sliver, and then through that they can experience the infinite, the Tlisha Gdola is the opposite. When you start off in a constricted state, and it looks like this thing is just nothing. It's just a small little dot with no significance whatsoever. But then the awareness of that can expand, and realizing that this is actually an insight into something beyond and existential.
Huh? Examples of
but we'll get there. Ha'argasha hashotefet b'rayon hashira b'davar godel ein sof v'siguv ein kates. The flowing feeling that is experienced in the ideal of the song, b'davar gadol ein sof, with this infinite, lofty thing that has no limits and no boundaries. Hamaromemet et hanefesh umeoreret et hatochen ashirati, which uplifts the soul and awakens the song element. אחרי שהיא מסמנת את החירותה בשטפת ניצוצי אורותיה, after it gives indication and recognition to the flow of its small points of light, המלמדת אותה לכוון את הגוונים המסומנים, and teaches it to guide the different, the full spectrum of particular notes, על ידי הופעת ההגבלה של ניתוקי אורותיה, האורות, which is done through giving constriction and boundaries to the nitukei orot. That's the term that he used the last time. Nitukei orot, these small slivers of light. Sheneshamot ein kates holchot uporchot al yadam. That the souls are able to be uplifted and fly through them. He mitnaset achar kach laharom ha'ein gvuli bechlaluto. It is then uplifted to the place of beyond any boundaries in its fullness. Shebechol uzo b'tofaot sio hareu nidbak b'yesod harayon hanishmati hamitale b'ha'ilui hashiri, which is uplifted in the soul of the song. Kolelot ha'avaya ha'atzilit ha'elyona shoresh kol hayesh u'makor kol ha'itavut, which is the source of all being and of all creation. I'll just take this opportunity over here to read a few lines from the commentary of Reb David, which I think really puts the sections that we've already read, it puts them into good perspective. I'm going to read from the first paragraph of the biur if people want to follow along with me. התלישה הגדולה מפורשת מבחינת מילולית כמקבילתה התלישה הקטנה. The tlisha gdola is paralleling the idea that we spoke out in the tlisha ktana. כוחה של הנשמה לשיר ולחוש את שטף האור, the ability of the soul to sing and to be exposed to the light of the infinite, שמאיר אותה, נובע מאור אין סוף, שמרומם בנוכחותו, which uplifts anyone in its presence, העצומה את הנפש, and strengthens the soul. יחד עם זאת, however, with this, ללא התרחקות, ha'ein sof, without distancing oneself from the infinite, titbatel haneshama ba'or. The soul will become nullified in that great light. Velo yihiyeh la kiyum atzmai, and will not have any independent existence. This is what Rav Kook means when he says hofa'at hagbala shel nitukei ha'orot, the appearance of the constriction of these little broken off pieces of light. Sheneshamot ein kates holchot uporchot al yadam. That is how the souls are able to fly, specifically through giving them constriction. Ki lelo nituk, because without them having been broken off, it's not possible for the souls to function as an independent thing. Now, continuing in the, I'm going to go back to the words of Rav Kook over here. I just lost the place. I apologize.
Me too.
We are on line. Yeah. Yeah. So me'ein ha'oz shel kol ha'chayim shel kol ha'koach ha'mitaleh mitnaseh. No. Yeah, shaharei below. It's on the eighth line over here. Shaharei below hayigayon ha'italshut haklalit, without the understanding which is obtained, without the awareness which is obtained through the extraction, through the tlisha, being ripped off from the klali, from the general, from the infinite, mimakor hamikoriyut, from its original source, shel nar plagim shel ha'ora, from the flowing rivers of life, shel or ha'orim ha'elyonim, of the sublime lights, asher nizgav shmo levado, meaning God's eternal name, which is up high, without being ripped off from all that. It's not possible for any will to develop any aspiration, and any attraction from the soul. Attraction of the soul being an aspiration, like a thing that speaks to you, a thing that's driving you. What is the thing that gives us the power of song, which uplifts us to the infinite? Which allows us to fly through the pure air of the infinite. This feeling of the extraction of the tlisha gdola, shel hantakat ha'or haklali, being taken off from the general infinite light, hamecholel kol hamakif, which fills the whole universe, the whole creation. Kol mesugelet shoshei or orotav, which is the roots of all of its light. Umukor hashlemut ha'elyona shel ziva chayim, and the source of all wholeness, which is the light of life. Shekol hanitukim, all of these experiences of being broken off. Haktanim, midudei hashiur umugbalei achog heim toldotav. They are able to generate things, are able to produce fruit. Perotav, branch off. Va'anafav, hatlisha gdola me'oreret et hani'ima ha'elyona. It awakens the pleasant, sublime song. Shel hitafsharut efshar l'shum ratzon l'tzayer shum she'ifa, and makes us aware of the impossibility for anything that is connected to the infinite to form any aspiration. So we'll say that again. It makes us aware that as long as I am nullified to the infinite, I can't have any individual aspiration. I can't develop my own will, and which is the need for the tlisha gdola being broken off from the infinite in order so that the individual can develop their own will. Min hasmol holechati atlisha gdola hachoveket kol hamechalelet et hakol. From the left to the right, it goes and is able to hug, so to speak, the whole expansive and comprehensive infinite. Min hakoach hasholel hamemaet et hayifat. In order to reveal the infinite in the full multitude which has no end. And therefore it turns to the right. Which expresses itself with joy, with the song of the Holy of Holies. The kav, right, the small line protrusion that comes off of the circle, meaning the circle symbolizing the infinite, and the small line representing the tlisha, the extraction of the prat of the individual, and then reveals the hod, the splendor of the kadur, of the orb, of the full orb, which expresses the infinite, right, which goes down to the south. Again, the south is a stand-in word for the right. We know, like in the Torah's conception of geography, the north is the left, the south is the right, right? East is backwards, and west is forwards. Right? So it's like you say, Taloch v'nasoa hakedma. Kedma. What? Sorry.
The base of Mikdash.
No. What is the base of Mikdash?
How are we facing the base of Mikdash? We're facing west. And
we're facing the base of Mikdash faces east.
We in the base of Mikdash face west.
Okay.
And therefore, south is to the right.
South is to the right.
North
No,
is to the left.
No. It's the opposite.
South to the left.
If you're facing,
South is to the right.
Correct. Excuse me. Yes. If you're facing the
west. The temple.
What are you trying to say?
The temple.
Yes.
Was built because we stand at the western wall. We always think the door of the temple is this side. It's
correct.
Not, it's the other side.
That is
so
correct.
The south will be, as you face the door, the south will be to the. Help me out here.
To the right.
We're all confusing each other.
You're in the base of Mikdash.
What Reverend Ken said is correct. The base of
Mikdash. I'm facing the Kodesh Kadoshim, which is the west, and therefore, if that's the west,
is behind you,
and therefore
and the north is to the right.
Is to the right. The north is to the right. I said to the south. Right, I'm sorry. Right.
So the Beis Hamikdash is facing which direction? The east. The Beis Hamikdash is facing the east. Forget the people, forget the people
Yes.
going in. Yeah, saying the Beis Hamikdash itself, the structure is facing the east. The east, then the right turn. If you turn right, you're going down south, and if you turn left, you're going up north. That's why the east is called kedem, like to face, right? Like kadima, forward.
Right.
Yeah. So east is right is forward, and west is backward. Anyway, all this was just to describe to explain why he's using the term negev as a as another way of saying
Who is we?
to the direction of the right.
People or Kohen Gadol?
No, I'm talking about just the structure of the Beis Hamikdash. Forget where the people are standing. Saying the structure of the temple itself. If you take the
doors are on east side.
the doors are on the east side. Yes, that's correct. That's
You're
correct.
facing the doors.
Like what you said a second ago. If you're standing at the western wall, you're standing behind the temple.
Yeah.
Yes, got it. Okay, let's go back and try to make a little bit of sense of this. The lessons of the Tlisha Gdola and Tlisha Ktana are, again, they're two sides of the experience of the individual facing the infinite. The Tlisha Ktana is from the perspective of that you feel it depends where the starting point is. The Tlisha Ktana is for the starting point of feeling an infinite inspiration, a feeling, right, as Rav Kook describes, like it's like the song welling up within the person. But you need to give the infinite some type of expression. So in order to give it an expression, you have to be tolesh, you have to extract a little bit of the light and just focus on that little bit of the light. And through focusing on that little sliver of light, you're able to go and re-experience the infinite. The Tlisha Gdola is the opposite. The Tlisha Gdola, the starting point is from the individual, right? Experiencing just constriction, like there's nothing here. But delving into that constriction shows you that it's an expression of something which is existential and beyond that small state of constriction. Cook explains that the disadvantage of being nullified to the infinite is that the soul isn't able to develop any sense of independence. Like we experience this. We experience when you're right. We call this today group psychology. Group psychology means that the individual loses their own sense of. It's the mob, right? The mob mentality is when each individual in the group they cease to be able to make independent decisions. This is like a real thing. To the extent that you become nullified to the group, to the infinite, the individual loses their sense of self. Right? So that we want to avoid, obviously. But at the same time, if the individual just becomes a fragmented piece, which is on the side all the time, they have no higher value to aspire to attach themselves to. So both of these are the paradox about how the individual relates to the infinite. The Tlisha Gdola, the Tlisha Ktana, we'll start off with. The Tlisha Ktana is a sliver of the infinite, which then is able to give access to this lofty, grand thing. You experience the infinite within the small little thing that you're doing at the moment. And the Tlisha Gdola is the ability to recognize that the constriction that I'm in right now is actually really this grand lofty thing. You know, what's coming to mind as I'm saying this is that there's a powerful Torah in Likutei Moharan Tinyana, which says that the desires of a person, the aspirations of an individual, are actually a gilui. They're actually a revealing of the aspirations of the Shekhinah. Right? What you want is something that the Shekhinah also wants. But you, as the individual, as this individual person, are expressing your facet of what that looks like, of what the desire of the Shekhinah is. That's what you're expressing. You're expressing that facet of this grand, lofty, universal yearning. Yeah. And a person can bind themselves to that. It's like we say in Tefillah that that the redemption is the experience. Yasis alayich elokayach kimsos chatan al kala. It's like every simcha that we experience, every joy, every communal joy, every familial joy that we experience is just an insight. It's an insight into this grand cosmic joy that we're gaining a little bit of insight to. We have our own little window into what that grand cosmic joy looks like. You know, this story of Shammai and Hillel, just to go through the points of the story that we said before. what was the problem with what this non-Jew was requesting from Shammai? Lamdeni kol haTorah kula shani omed al regal achas. Give me everything while I'm standing on one leg. So we have the idiom already, right? So in modern Hebrew, we have the idiom standing on one leg means like very quick. Why does it mean very quick? Because you can't stand on one leg for that long. You'll fall over. You're not stable. You can't stand on one leg for a long time. So what did Shammai Hazaken try to communicate to him? You're not stable. You haven't built yourself up into anything. You're not able to contain the infinite because you haven't built yourself up into anything. So what did he do? Dachfo ba'amas habinyan shebiyado. What is the amas habinyan? Shammai Hazaken, the context of the background to the story is that Shammai Hazaken was an architect for a living. So this person is approaching him while he's at work. He's at a building site. Yeah, why does he happen to have an amas habinyan in his hand? Why does he happen to have a measuring staff in his hand? Because he's on a construction site working, and he poses him this question. So he takes the amas habinyan, which is the tool to measure the exacting requirements of a building that's going to allow it to be stable. And that kli is what he sends in this message. He's like, you're not stable enough to be able to contain this huge, big thing that you want to contain. You have to build yourself up. When someone's standing on one leg and you push them, what happens? They fall. So Dachpo, he pushed him. He pushed him with the Amos Habinyan. He's like, look, you're going to fall over. You want to contain Kol HaTorah Kula. You're not stable enough to contain Kol HaTorah Kula. And that was it. That was the end of the interaction.
You were saying on Shabbos about midos and right measurements and midos.
Nachon. It's a very similar idea to the idea of the kli, to the idea of the building.
You don't have the midos.
You are not the midah to be able to hold this grand Kol HaTorah Kula thing that you're thinking of. There is no such thing as Kol HaTorah Kula, right? As David HaMelech says in Tehillim Kuf Yutes, L'chol tichla ra'isi case. To everything that has a beginning, I have seen an end. Rechava mitzvosecha me'od. Your mitzvos are infinitely wide. There is no Kol HaTorah Kula. Meaning this ger is coming with his yearning to access the infinite. And says Shammai, you don't have the vessel to be able to contain the infinite. You don't have it. You want to stand on one foot. One foot is not stable. Yeah. What's the chiddush of Hillel HaZaken? Does Hillel HaZaken argue with Shammai's position? He doesn't argue with his position, as we will see in a moment. Hillel's chiddush is that he's sensing, where is this person coming from? Where he says, listen, I need the whole Torah like right now. Like give me the cliff notes. Just give me the whole thing in one shot. He realizes that this ger, he's holding on to the belief that he doesn't have what it takes to go through the process. I can't sit in yeshiva for 10, 15 years and learn Torah. I need the whole thing now. Like if you're not going to give me the whole thing in one line, I can't do it. So what does Hillel do? Hillel does a tlishak tana for him. He gives him a tlishak tana. He says, okay, you want the whole thing? This is the whole thing. If you can extrapolate your inner experience, your inner world, all of your emotions and all of your aspirations and all of your problems and all of your good times and bad times, if you can extrapolate that everyone else around you is also like that, then you can understand the whole Torah. Zeal more. Now go and learn. Meaning he doesn't argue with Shammai that there is this process of building and development. There is the process, but you want the whole thing in one shot, where you can experience the infinite of what you want in just one moment. This is it. This is the klisha, the extraction that Hillel was able to give him to give him the experience of that infinitude that he wanted, to start him off, to give him motivation. Now zeal gemor. Now go and learn. Yeah? Now you can start the process of developing and bringing together all the things that you need in order to experience the infinitude. I've quoted already several times from this book that I'm still into. I'm going through very, very slowly because it's a bit dense, if you know what I mean. But I just want to read a very, very small note from Rav Kapach. Mikan notzrat surat hamishulash hakaful. The idea of the symbolism behind the double triangle, the Hainu Magen David, which is the shield of David. What is that symbolism? What is the symbolism of the Magen David? So the context over here, he's talking about the number 10 and how visually it can be represented, and he brings a section from Aristotle and Metaphysica, and he goes on for a while. But this is the punchline. What is the symbolism of the Magen David? The double triangle. Okay. Shiluv ha'achdut b'chol ha'avaya. This is symbolizing the unity within all of creation. Lirmoz, to allude to the fact, shaha'echad asher kiyum kol ha'olamot talui bo. The triangle with the point on top is alluding to what? That there is one source for all of creation. There's this top point, and everything emanates out from it. That's the first triangle. Milamala lemata. That is the triangle going from top to bottom. Ki inyan, right? Kol alamot talui bo. Matsui b'chol ha'avaya milamala lemata ki inyan im sak shamayim sham ata va'atzia sha'ol hineka. And the opposite triangle, where the point is on the bottom and everything emanates out, that from one point, from any prat, from any particular experience in the Bria, you can then experience the infinitude of everything. Right? So from top down, that there is one source for everything, but then if you, by experiencing and engaging with any particular point in the Bria, in creation, you can then experience the infinitude of creation as well. Right? Shiluv ha'achadut, unity, the fundamental unity within all of creation. The singular source of reality, but then being able to access the infinitude through any particular point. Tlisha gdola, tlisha ktana. Right? The ability to, right? I experience the infinite. There's two things there. You can say, I experience the infinite, right? I, the individual, the particulated individual, experience the infinite. Or you could say, I experience the infinite. I experience the endless, boundless thing in which a person can get lost in and be uplifted in and inspired by. Right? Tlisha gdola, tlisha ktana.
Can you give us an example?